So what was the first sort of hit that you had? What was the first show that you went, oh, wow?
We had just recently taken up residence at the Athenaeum Theater in a huge 90-seat studio on the third floor or something, yes. And we produced Sometimes Verily We Roll Along. And it, of course now when I look back on, our standards today, it's like we thought that was a hit, but it was a hit, it got extended. We had Frank Solari of the Athenaeum as kind of a co-producer with us. So it was pretty exciting. And we parlayed that into an extended run of falsettos as well, which was really popular. That whole 13 or so years that Wally and Eugene were helming the company really was about like a jewel box musical experience, and that less of the big kind of super well-known titles and more of the works of like Maury Yeston, William Finn.
You were thriving as a storefront theater company in Chicago. You distinguished yourself by doing predominantly music theater. What would you say was the next sort of like plateau that you arrived at during that period of time?
Well, like we're pausing now for the 30th anniversary, I think these milestones, right, are things that make you kind of reach a little bit higher. So in our 10th anniversary season, we added our first equity contract. So we entered into an agreement with Actors Equity Association, which really opened up a whole nother group and level of professional to us and really changed the face of the company and the kinds of shows we were producing, the kinds of people we were having on our stage. I would say of that, we were still, by that time, we had moved out of the Athenaeum and had taken up residence at Stage 773 on Belmont, where we were for about 15 years. We were at Stage 773 on Belmont. And I would say the biggest hit of that era was Ragtime. We did a really fabulous production of Ragtime that had an extended run there and then transferred to the Apollo Theater on Lincoln Avenue. And that ran probably almost 6 months. So that was kind of a big game changer for Porchlight as well. So, when you came on board, we really started expanding programming.
Right. At that moment, we pretty much were just doing a main stage series, but we were very clear in terms of what the mission was becoming, which became more about the American musical, past, present, and future. And as we dug into that, we wanted to figure out how can we be a service to the Chicago theater community, the artists and the audiences who were revealing themselves to be people who wanted to do more than just go see a show, pay the cost of the ticket, watch the show, and go home. They wanted to become more engaged. They wanted to learn about the history of musicals. So we started devising concepts like New Faces Sing Broadway, which is really inspired by a series that was a real series from Broadway that started in the 30s and played all the way to the late 60s. That was an opportunity to introduce new talent. So we devised our version of that, New Faces Sing Broadway, picking one season on Broadway, using that as the theme for the evening. Then came the Revisit series, Porchlight Revisits, which was our way of being able to go back and look at some of the canon of musicals that were written by great writers, by Rodgers and Hammerstein, by Carolyn Lee, by Lerner and Lowe, by a number of people, and those shows that aren't produced as much, not South Pacific or Carousel or The King and I, but instead maybe we would do Allegro or Me and Juliet or...
None of those which we've done, but...
None of those which we have done yet, yes. But we, that's the thing. There's so many of them for us to be able to get to.
For sure.
So we've turned around and done things like, On a Clear Day You Can See Forever, or Golden Boy, or, so that was the purpose, of building the series.
And around that time, it became apparent that Porchlight needed a really solid leader at the helm. And as you know, for the 3 years that I was on the board and you were the artistic director, I was basically like the executive director of this company. And so we made it official. 10 years ago, the board asked me if I would. I was going to resign from the board, actually, because I had sold my business. And rather than have that happen, the board turned around and asked me if I'd like to become the first executive director at Porchlight, to which it couldn't have been, a better fit. I was virtually running the company as the CEO at that time. Anyway, And yeah, so I seamlessly moved into this executive director position. And now our budgets are consistently around 2.5 million, and not without its ups and downs for sure. Thank you so much for watching this video series on Porchlight's history. We are so proud and honored to have reached our 30th anniversary season, and we couldn't have done it without you. You have been there for every accomplishment and every challenge, and we can't thank you enough. Now, as we look toward the next 30 years of Porchlight, we need your support more than ever. Please consider a gift that is meaningful to you. Every dollar you donate will go to support our youth education programming, our award-winning productions, and our free community events. Thank you so much.